Y'all do your thing, and that's what's up. I'ma keep it moving. I got a middle touch.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to the Grindcast, and have my friend Dr. Thomas Burnett joining us out of Regeneration, Pittsburgh. And I wanted to introduce him to you and switch up the flow a little bit here on the grind and see if we can't add some value to your life. So you guys know I try to stay active. 35 years old, and you know I try to run like I'm 20 years old. And so he's been somebody that has helped me to do that. Last year I had a torn rotator cuff, and I was getting ready to go under the knife. And before I got surgery, I said, you know what? I've been hearing some good things about stem cell, and I got an introduction to Dr. Thomas Burnett. I said, why don't I go down there and see what it's all about? And so I went from not even being able to do a push-up without pain to 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I'm bench pressing 225 for reps with no pain, and never had to go to surgery. We're coming up on a year now almost, and no issues with my shoulder at all. Since then, I've done all different types of stuff that I think is just modern practice that not most people are exposing themselves to. And so a lot of my friends have been, you know, that I've turned on to this. They're like, man, are you getting a commission? And I said, no, I'm not getting any commission. It's you know, when you have something that changes your life that much or has impacted your life that much, you want to turn it on to everybody else. And not only the impact, but the person and the human being that Dr. Tom is as well is something that I could co-sign for. So what I wanted to do today is just start off and see if I could turn it over, you know, to you, and we'll just kind of go with the flow.
Sure.
Give them some advice out there. Tell them a little bit about what you do, and even the nonprofit, you know, that I've grown to be a part of.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for the introduction. I wish I could have you clone for every single one of my patients, because you're very receptive to all the things I offer, and you're taking it to the next level. You're asking questions before I can get it out of my mouth of what you can be doing to just either expedite the healing process or just enhance everything. So I mean, I'm grateful to have you as a patient. It's one of the things we're going to talk about. You know, I do a lot of stem cell. I treat non-operative pain, but stem cell is kind of new on the market in the last 10 years. It's just basically using the body's natural ability to heal, enhancing that. And you just take like a shoulder for the heal, like a rotator cuff tear. You know, a lot of times you exhaust the options, and you're going to potentially surgery. And the whole idea is the body can heal itself. You just need to create this niche, or this regenerative niche, that it can heal itself. This is for a lot of things. If we talked about the four key pillars on the grinder, that we're going to talk about this again. If you address the 4 key pillars, I guarantee we can single-handedly knock out this pharmaceutical industry. If you're addressing this at an early age, and simply these are diet, exercise, sleep, and then a big psychosocial or spiritual wellness. If you are addressing that, we can knock out this pharmaceutical industry. This is not my goal. This is just optimizing just natural health.
Love it. So why don't we rock with those 4 pillars?
Yes, absolutely.
Why don't we give a quick summary of what you've explained to me, and kind of how to maximize and optimize those 4 pillars.
Exactly. So the number 1 is diet. Diet, all day long diet. Your bodybuilder, what, 60% is come down to diet, what you're eating. And we know we got to avoid certain things. We'll go into more detail on those. Sugar is the number 1 killer. Diet, sugars, excess alcohol.
When you say sugars, what do you mean by that?
Okay, just artificial sweeteners and sugars, like the high fructose corn syrups. Just a plain additive sugars. Yeah, absolutely, pop's a huge one. But sugars you find in everything, just run-of-the-mill sugars, candy. But pop is the big one. The high fructose corn syrup will actually just destroy everything. So sugar is the big one. Excess alcohol intake, cigarettes, tobacco, absolutely. But fast foods, you know, these high preservatives, everything they're putting in the foods, you just need to avoid. Not all together, because we're not all perfect. We're going to get that. We'll always come down to a time crunch. But this is overall. This is the grand scheme of things. What you need to be avoiding are the big ones: the fast foods, the sugars, the excess alcohol and tobacco. And then on the flip side of that, you should be getting more nutrient-dense foods into the diet. And that's just a very simple idea. Where this whole trend's going more towards organic. You don't have to spend a ton of money on this. It's just natural, good food that you should be getting in. So that's key. And then you go into actually another thing is that's one of the few things that you have absolute control over. You have absolute control over what you put in your mouth, either food or drink. So you got a choice 10 to 12 times per day. Is this something that's going to help me achieve my goals? Is it going to help me think better? Is it going to help me think or feel better? And this is absolutely crucial. Then you go into...
While we're doing that, Josh, do we know what's buzzing, beeping?
Yeah, that's me on my phone right
now. Oh, gotcha. That's all right. We can keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Cool. Where are we going?
Uncut.
Oh, gotcha.
Turn the buzzer off.
There we go.
So we're good. We ain't got to start nothing over. This don't have to be perfect.
All right,
it's all good.
My first time doing this, so I apologize for that one. Number 2, exercise. There's a certain reason why the most successful people in this world, there's a certain why we should be exercising daily. It's just 10 minutes to an hour long. This is something that increases your productivity. It's all about increasing that productivity.
100%.
And by the way you think and the way you feel, it's going to set you up for more success. Literally, if you just get out there and just sweat.
I can't tell people enough. When people always ask me, why are you doing that? You look good enough, or you did this, or that. It's not even the vanity. It's not even just the look. Or even the health, which I like to look good. I want to try to look the best that we can look. I like being healthy. But for me, it's the way my day goes after that. When I work out, like if I have I'm going to speak in front of a lot of people or something's going on, if I need to be in mint condition, I have to get a workout in prior to that engagement if I'm going to be getting an A+, knowing that I'm in my zone. So there has to be something there that jolts you, not only from a physical standpoint, but mentally.
Absolutely. We're all hunters, man. We always have to see the energy levels. We have to go out there and get the food, right? It's the only way you're going to perform optimally. So exercise. The reason why the most successful people in this world exercise every day. It doesn't have to be hours, but at least 10 minutes in the morning, something like that can actually set your day off to hit your goals. Then you get into sleep. So one thing that these 4 pillars they all help each other out. So sleep, not everybody needs 10 hours of sleep a night. Actually, no one should. Even 8 hours of sleep a night. I don't know how much sleep you typically get per night.
7.
Okay, 7 is good. So the idea was between 7 to 9, somewhere in between there. Some people function on 4. I can never do that. I don't think that's optimal. The quantity of sleep is not as important as the quality of sleep. You should be feeling refreshed when you get up in the morning. So optimizing the quantity and quality of sleep is crucial here. And I got 2 kids at home, and sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. I want to put them down in bed and be fair in the morning and just still do the 10 things I need to do at night. So sleeping is one of the hardest things that you have to regulate, but just spend that time on good quality sleep. And there's simple things that you could be doing to optimize the quality of sleep, make the room as dark as possible, make sure there's good air movement in the room, trying to eat or drink right before you go to bed. And sometimes some simple over-the-counter stuff that you can take to induce the sleep. Sometimes we do the CBD oils. Sometimes there's some natural supplements that can really induce good quality sleep. It's important for you to wake up in the morning if your day is going to go well.
Yep. I think before you move on to the next pillar that, I think when you mention if it's 10 minutes or an hour, I think so often I tell people this about giving. People get so stunned and frozen by what they can't do that they don't do what they can do. And so if you can work out, if you're somebody, I can't get to the gym every day. How about 20 minutes? Sure. How about 15 minutes? How about you can get a lot done with no rest and no break in 15, 20 minutes and get a good workout in, but it's better than 0. Sure. So when you talk about 10 minutes to an hour, whatever, that's what stuck out to me, is just throwing that shot out there, is that as a group of people, I think we just need to, if you're somebody that's been struggling with jump starting your year, or, I got to be real with you, making the excuse that you don't, quote, have time. What I think about is, if you want to have time for, walking your children down the aisle one day, and if you don't have time, it's going to keep you out of a hospital, or at least increase your chances. We all know people that lived a good, pure life, and something happens and they get sick, and it's unfortunate. It happens. But I don't think I think that's the minority, not the majority. And I also think that I want to try to control what I can control, even though I can't control everything. I want to control what I can control.
Absolutely.
And so you could use the excuse of, well, there's people out there that do everything right, and then they still end up, I mean, I could point out a million different examples for everything like that if we're looking for the one story. But I think we need to get out there and stop making excuses. And what is more important than our health? I think that people will do more research of a celebrity on social media or Instagram or whatever, put more time and energy towards that than they do their own physical, well-being. So, sorry I went off on a tangent there. I think we're on the third pillar of health.
Yeah, I think you made a good point, and that's on the second one, exercise too. Not everybody does have time for an hour per day, or even a half an hour per day, but if you do have time for 10 2-minute sessions throughout the day, you can park an extra half a mile away from the work or take the stairs. It's just those will all add up and make a big difference. That's a great point. I'm glad you said that. That brings us to number 4, and I say this number 4 is just definitely not the least important. This is hugely important for everything you do. This is psychosocial and or spiritual wellness. I've learned so much from you, Simon, talking about expressing the gratitude and being thankful for what you have. This is avoiding the negativity. I've heard your podcast and the grind and then concentrate on the positivity. Avoiding the negativity. There's certain foods. There's certain people or situations that you put yourself in that just bring the negativity. You need to identify it, and you need to address it before it becomes an issue. And on the flip side of that, you got to concentrate on the positivity. And you got to find that higher power. I've had a hard time dealing with this personally. Just find that higher power. It doesn't necessarily have to be with God. It could be with nature, but find the high power, and you got to be able to convey and express that gratitude.
Why don't you talk about? Remember, you told me, and this before I knew anything about your beliefs in the 4th pillar. But anybody close to me knows I believe heavily in mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit, all of it being connected. So when I heard you talk about this, it really took it to another level. But remember when you were talking about there was a couple groups of people that, one got prayed for and the other one didn't get,
interesting.
And that was out of a book, I think, maybe or whatever. Can you share that?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the book.
It's all right.
But
just the concept of
so
what
the
the
setup
story was. Yep.
You have a hospital, let's say in New York, just randomly, and you have 2 sets of people associated that are certified. You have, let's say 100 people, 50, they're all 100 were with systemic illness. 50 of them were prayed for, 50 of them weren't prayed for. The 50 that were prayed for just got better. Not everybody, every single person, but statistically different. They got better as opposed to the ones that were not prayed for. The problem, that seems cool at face value, right there.
And you were saying, somewhere that were so ill, they didn't show much of a difference. Like prayed for or not prayed for, that some of them just passed away.
Exactly,
or whatever. Regardless,
you had deaths on both sides.
Both sides, but but in between there, I think it wasn't death, but if the statistics were very drastic on who got prayed for, who sped up the healing and ended up doing better beyond that.
Yeah, it's significant difference between the ones that were prayed for and the ones that were not prayed for. And the crazy part about that, that'd be cool if we just did a study and we prayed for this group and didn't pray for that group and see how that did, which that study's been done on plants actually. You throw out positivity and negativity and see which plant does better, and it's always the ones that has the positivity. But going back to that study, the ones that were prayed for, the ones that were not prayed for, this study was conducted now on the patient population from 20 years ago, which is crazy. So you can affect that difference. You can put the positive thoughts out there and pray for people and affect things even in the past, which is just absolutely crazy. And this gets into quantum physics and quantum mechanics. You can affect positive change and negative change on things that have already happened. So that's why it's very important. If you want to heal, like your shoulder, I told you, think about 6 months from now how good you're going to feel when that shoulder is at 100%. And that's the feeling you got. You have a very clear intention that you want things to get better.
When I first started, like you said, we're all human. There's somebody out there. No one sees your good and bad like your wife, right? So I'm sure my wife Nat got a picture of me out of spirit or a video of me upset. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I think I'm pretty positive thinking, speaking, feeling, vibing of a person, and that's been a focus for me. It wasn't always that way. was a focus for me. And I know one of the challenges in my transition to just trying to just have no negativity, trying to look at the positive in everything, trying to, I even heard, you know, my nanny who helps us out, we were traveling and we had some issues with the travel, and, you know, she was saying, you know, let's just look at it and say, maybe we were supposed to leave a little bit later. It was supposed to play out that way. Maybe it saves you from something. And, you know, I think just having the positive attitude and outlook, I've had so many people in this transition start to say, oh man, this is, why you got everything got to be positive, and talking positive, thinking positive ain't going to help that, ain't going to, you know, so just be ready when you start to make this transition of just trying to think positive, speak positive, that you're going to have some people throwing shots, throwing jabs at you about, you know, positivity doesn't really help that much. But there's been studies that shows otherwise.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. And I bet you can go back with your career, how successful it's been. There's certain landmarks that you hit, and maybe it was the change in just the way you thought, and as you incorporate something that more positive into your life, and you can just see you're hitting these more benchmarks. And this is just definitely, I've heard this with some of your mentors in the past, to just say that exact same things. When you change that mindset, it's the only way you're going to be able to change or enact positive changes in your life. You got to change things up top.
Now, you've had the opportunity to work with, you know, when I come to your office, I see a lot of some of the star athletes, you know, in the area from the Steelers, and we could leave the names out of it, but can you think of a person, you know, that maybe you could think of that just their whole way they approached an injury was the way that it should be done, from the mindset to the grind, you know, that it takes to rehabilitate themselves? Because I think not only physically, but more so you can make the correlation in life that everybody's going to get injured in life at some point. It may be emotionally, it may be mentally, not just an injury, you know, physically, and you have to rehabilitate yourself and bounce back. What things stand out to you from the people that rehabilitate themselves better than others?
It's all about, well, at least the 2 P's, and you got to be prepared. You have to know the options, and you got to prepare for that, and you got to be proactive. So just knowing what the options, the best patients I've ever had, you and a couple other ones, we'll leave the names out, some of the professional athletes, the ones that come in asking questions that already know what the different options that I will give them, and then what the next question is, if we do this, how can I take it to the next level? So being prepared and being proactive, the 2 best, I think, qualities and patients that I see that can always bring it to the next level. I think this is for everything, for business, for anything. You got to be prepared, and you got to be proactive. As I think too, the big keys and making things be as best as possible.
I mean, your office up here is just catching fire. You know, just every time I see you, I just remind you, hey, don't forget about me now, because this thing, I mean, I don't understand how there's not a line from your door all the way up, you know, 19. When people really start to see what you're doing for people and what the options are now in 2019, you better make sure that you answer my text messages still, or I'm coming to see you.
Well,
I'm going to come door knock you.
I appreciate that. And really, our vibe is just calming everything down, calming the inflammation down, just allowing the body to heal itself. And that's just key across everything. But again, it comes down to me being able to prepare myself and being proactive and expecting, like you said, there's that negativity that'll always keep grabbing at you. You have to be prepared for that, and you got to address it as it comes up. I'd say we've shared a lot of success, but I mean, there's still certain things that this negativity that comes in. You got to stay positive and address, and you got to express the gratitude. And I learned that from you. I've learned it from you. I learn it from you every day. So you guys be proactive in this and express the gratitude.
So not only are you a doctor, but you're also operating as a business. Okay, so you're a business owner as well. I know there's natural things that come up as a business owner that bring obstacles, hurdles, trials, tribulations, and you also do this with an unbelievable wife, love Nancy, and children at the same time. So not only as a husband, not only as a father, but operating as a doctor and as a business person, these things all take a certain amount of energy and effort and obstacles to overcome. What, you know, because everybody says, man, I'd love to be a doctor. Man, I'd love to have my own practice. I'd love to have. What things do you think, what things stand out to you that you've had to overcome that you want to speak on? You know, you don't have to speak on all of it,
sure.
But what type of things that we could add value to other people, maybe to their life. You know, sometimes when I'm going through stuff, when I've gone through things, I'm thinking, you know, I'm not going through this for myself only. I'm going through this for others, whether it's my children, other people. I want to be able to pass on that wisdom and knowledge that I've gained from how to handle this. And maybe it doesn't stop them from ever having problems, but if they have some of these same things, I'm going to know how to handle those things. So what advice would you give, or what things stand out to you from handling adversity, obstacles, setbacks, and bouncing back from those?
Great question. I don't think it's something that necessarily I've addressed the question. It's not something that I had to overcome because I've been very blessed by my supporting cast. You mentioned Nancy and my wife is unbelievable, and my kids would be so pissed if I didn't throw out their names of Colin and Keaton. And we got a dog too, but it's just surrounding yourself. This is probably the most important thing I've ever done is choosing my wife correctly.
No doubt.
Yeah, so
that got to be the biggest decision that you can ever make.
That goes so far as a business partner too, because she runs the clinic. She's a business manager. But surround yourself with a great supporting cast is the number one. I think the biggest thing that we have going on. We have a great cast. And this is stuff that you've helped me out with, and we have people that are involved with this business as well. Just our cast, I don't think could be better, and that's where it all starts. So I guess that's the biggest.
So how do you develop that? You know, one thing that stands out, and I know you're a Buckeyes fan like me.
Yeah.
That was an accidental thing we had together. But you know, Jim Tressel's a mentor of mine.
Yes,
we spend time together every month. I remember him telling me something that stands out about what you're saying right now is that he said when he's gone through certain, and these have been public, you know, adversities. He's like, for me, two things that stand out that he told me was, one, perspective. So he said under some of what the world would think was bad circumstances or obstacles for me, I say as compares to what? Compares to some kid on the street that has no parents, or it's living in a foster home or something like that. Like, my problems are relative. This isn't that bad of a problem. So perspective. And the second thing is he said, you know, when Tom Brady drops back to pass, this is the exact analogy. He says he drops back to pass and he delivers comfortably under pressure. He may step up into the pocket or whatever, but it's because he has an offensive line. He has people built around him to protect him. And so he said, when you go through these things, you got to use your offensive line. He said, that's why I come back to the perspective, because some of these kids, some of these people don't have an offensive line. I got an offensive line. So, you know, that's you saying that my staff, my wife, my support, that's my offensive line. So developing that is key and vital.
Just knowing somebody has your back that will die for you. Literally, I was in the military. I spent 3 years as Air Force flight surgeon. Just knowing somebody is there for you, will support you, will stand up for you, take a bullet for you. That's important. And not ever, it doesn't have to come out and say, I'll take a bullet for you, but just that is implied sometimes with these deep relationships. And how do I pick these people? Sometimes with my employees, you just figure out the ones that you know, bring that positivity. You can see it within 2 minutes of meeting somebody. You're going to see if they're going to be positive or somewhat the negative. And it maybe takes a little time to hash these out fully. But you got to tend to gravitate towards the ones that bring that positivity to you and avoid that negativity. It's crucial. And you see this every day, I'm sure.
Positive energy. Yep. Positive energy. If you're going to spend that much time with somebody, you know, a lot of times at work you end up spending more time at work than you do at home. You want to make your house positive, as positive as you can. What's the? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the nonprofit that you're involved in and what that does? We have a fundraiser, cocktail party coming up here in May. A portion of those proceeds not only is going to go to my youth program, Inspiring Minds, but I'm gonna be giving a percentage of that to your organization.
That's fantastic,
why don't you tell us a little bit about what that organization is and what it does?
This is a Pittsburgh-based post 9/11 nonprofit. It's called It's About the Warrior, similar to the Wounded Warrior, but this is all Pittsburgh-based.
Pittsburgh-based. It's About the Warrior.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have the therapeutic side. We're actually treating some of the guys that we do in the clinic. There's the flow pod therapies. It's some of the psychosocial or the biofeedback that you're controlling the situation that you put yourself into, the PTSD, anxiety, depression. That's the therapeutic side. And then the outreach programs with hockey and then some of these hunting and fishing expeditions. And Steve Monleone out of Butler is in charge of the whole thing. He's been on that for about 6-7 years and just taking this from very, very small single golf outing to a huge. I mean, we spent almost $300,000 and giving back to the veterans this year. And it's people like you, and you have these fundraisers. The only way that this can just survive is people just really open to giving and expressing that gratitude and taking it to the next step. So that's something that they continue to grow, and we treat a lot of veterans at our clinic as well. I mean, just similar to your Inspiring Minds, that's just unbelievable. Just the amount of people you have, your supporting cast for that, just really, truly unbelievable.
It's cool to see. I mean, you drove, we'll close this out in the next couple minutes, but you drove all the way to Youngstown. You know, to what's cool is over time you'll meet people that come into your life that become closer over time and more dependable and reliable than maybe even family members. You know, I've had people that, you know, are in my own family that won't come 10 minutes, and I have, you know, people like yourself that'll come hours to support, you know, something like that. You know, the last two things I would say is these all completely off cuff. That's what I love about this. Is even we have nothing planned. We just kind of going with the flow. You know, I was talking today in the spirit of giving, and you know, I remember when I first started to have some success in business, being so afraid that I didn't deserve, you know, it coming from, you know, we were joking around making the juices downstairs. You see my childhood friend Big Perm with the juice man, and I said, it feels like we're living a movie, because I mean, we shouldn't even be here like this. You know what I mean? And so what I've started to do, and I was blessed with a great mentor in Jim Surace and Marcus, you know, who taught me to give early. That if I'm going to gain, that I should always be giving. And so, you know, one of the things I've always tried to do is just try to make sure that, you know, whatever, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but for this I'm going to use 10%. If I'm getting and I can give 10%, to me that's a sign of humility, but also if you're a selfish person, okay, all people at some point, it comes back to a little bit of, okay, everybody's a little bit selfish. Nobody wants to say it, but everybody's a little bit selfish. I've learned that if you're really smart with being selfish, you understand the concept of the more that you give, the more that you'll receive. It just can't always be quantified right then and there. And so what I've learned is in trying to look out for the people that I lead, my family, myself, I've learned this rhythm. It's like I feel a rhythm to it, that anytime I get a big blessing, I'm already giving stuff away. I'm already thinking of ways that I can give stuff away. So recently I just, you know, I was in a legal battle, you know, with an unfortunate real estate situation here that happened locally. Was nothing that was my fault. Everything that was done right, it was not good. And almost going to work out to where we were, it was going to be taking advantage of us for no reason. Prayed about it. It was going to be over $1 million. Could have been a liability of, you know, damn near $500,000 liability on our end, and a lesson learned, expensive lesson learned. That, you know, I remember spending mornings in prayer about this, and sometimes you get to negotiating. You know, man, if this is just, if I can get through this, man, I'm going to do so much. I'm going to do, and then it happens, and you're like, well, I didn't really want. I remember being in prayer and feeling inside of me, you know, whatever your belief is. You know, I'm saying I felt inside of me the Spirit of God talking to me, saying, I'm going to help you out of this thing. But don't forget about me. Don't forget about giving something to me. And so we just recently got this thing settled this week. It's a big chunk coming our way. Didn't work out the way the investment was supposed to work out. The returns won't be perfect, but they'll be okay, and it could have been worse. So I sat my partner down with this, and I explained to him how even though we took some losses, there's a certain amount that's left, and I'm going to give. You don't have to, but this is the reason why I am. And he chose to jump on board, you know, with me, and we're giving a big cool. Donation to God's Kingdom here in Pittsburgh. This wasn't on the plan to talk about, but to help you guys understand out there that the biggest rewards that I feel like we've had and I've had in business, I believe one of the sole reasons for being luckier. You know, you hear people say, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It seems like also the more I give, the more we receive. And You know, it's gotten from a larger scale on this. But I just want to encourage you guys out there to be a giver. You know, and it's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be perfect timing, you know, for you. But don't look at how much. It's all relative. You know, the person that gives $5 can be more than somebody that gives $5,000 compared to what you have to give. The person that gives an hour of their time may mean as much or more than somebody that gives 30 hours of their time, based on all the directions that you're pulled in. I just want to encourage you guys out there to understand that if you want to reap generously, okay, then you have to sow generously. And if you reap sparingly, then you're going to sow sparingly. And don't allow yourself to get caught up with, you know, maybe out of these times that you give, you know, I've heard people say, well, man, what if they don't do the right thing with the money? Or you help this kid go to college and he failed out of college and he don't even appreciate it and he take advantage of you. And I'm thinking, I tell people that's has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just about the act of giving, and what comes around goes around. So I just want to encourage you guys out there to start to give and watch how this plays out in your life.
I will back that up 100%. It's either you believe in karma or reap what you sow. It's absolutely important. Put the positivity out there. It will come back to you. You can't gauge when it's going to come back to you, but I guarantee it will come back to you positive.
Last thing, advice to your children. Okay, if you could just bottle this up and they watch this in 10 years, 15 years, 3 pieces of advice to hop out of your mind. I know that's a lot of pressure under no notice.
Sure.
But if you were giving advice to your children that they could look at 10 years from today, what would be the 3 things that you would want to say?
Wow. Well, we talked a lot about the 4 pillars. So I would say overall staying healthy. Okay, this will pay off dividends in the end. Healthy choices right now will pay off dividends in the end. Staying humble. Treating everybody with respect, no matter who they are, even if they've harmed you in the past. Staying humble and having that humility, and standing up for people. This is, there's always going to be people that's going to be weaker for you. So standing up to the ones that can't stand up for themselves. So those are the big 3: staying healthy, make positive choices right now, staying humble and having that humility, and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves.
Love it. My 3 are going to be, to close this thing out, in no specific order. Work ethic, outwork everybody in whatever it is that you're going to do. I want you to be that's something that you can control also. It's a controllable, that I'm going to outwork everybody in whatever it is, from sport to a parent to whatever. Let's just grind. Let's outwork everybody and carry that tradition. The second thing I would say is the company that you keep. The circle that you choose to operate in. Doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else or anything like that. But I can tell you, when I was around certain circles that were not making the right decisions for society, I was doing those things. And when I got around people that were focused more on helping others and serving people and doing what's right, then I was more accustomed to doing those things. And I'm telling you this from a perspective of leadership. I was leading these circles. So even if you're a leader, you say, well, if you're a leader, then you don't. Well, if you're a leader and you get caught in some of these circles, you just might end up leading that circle. And so I want you to focus on your inner circle. Who are you rolling with? Sometimes to go to the next level in life, be it in relationships, and everybody's cheating, and you're not a cheating person in your relationship or your marriage or whatever it is. To go to the next level in life, sometimes you need to separate. And in that separation, you could try to pull people up with you and give people an opportunity to come with you. But not everybody's going to want to come with you when you start to elevate and go up. And so that creates a natural separation. And the only way to close that gap is to go down if they're not willing to step up. And you can't feel bad if they're not willing to step up, that you're not constantly trying to pull people up with you, because you need to protect yourself and protect your inner circle and hang around people that you want to be like and that are going to bring the best out of you, not the worst out of you. And the last thing is I told my wife this the other day. I said, the one thing that if I'm no longer here, if something happens to me, I want you to make sure happens is I want my kids to have a relationship with God. And what that has done from a humility standpoint to handling natural pressures, adversities. There's been corners I've been backed into where literally not one person could be there to help me or save me. But being that I had that, you know, most of the issues, when we look horizontally, you know, what's going on over here, what's going on over here, they're really vertical issues. If you look vertical, it'll handle the horizontal. And so my one of those and final ones would be just to get a base of spirituality, grow yourself in your beliefs in God, and let that be the foundation for which you walk on. Doesn't mean other people are that don't have the same beliefs, you're better than them or you look down on them. One of my best friends in the world is coming up to hang with me in a couple weeks, does not have the same beliefs that I have yet spiritually, but I love him like a brother. So it doesn't mean that we're looking down on people or that we're better than anybody else. Just hold the fort down with the ground, the foundation being growing yourself spiritually. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It was a little bit of a switch up, hearing it from a doctor on the inward health, mentally, physically, spiritually, all the things that you can do to grow yourself. Dr. Tom, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much
on the G.r.i.n.d, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
Y'all do your thing, and that's what's up. I'ma keep it moving. I got a middle touch.